For Christmas this year, we all got Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2 as our gift, so now it's time to break it down. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So today I've got my breakdown of Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2. This consists of Episode 5, Shock Jock, Episode 6, Escape from Camazotz, and Episode 7, The Bridge. In total, it's around 3.5 hours of TV, and I'm diving in spoiler heavy. You've been warned. This will be my breakdown, in-depth thoughts, predictions, theories, and of course, ending explained video as we head into the finale, which drops on New Year's Eve, December 31st on Netflix at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, before I get into this, be sure to hit that like button, comment down below your thoughts on Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2, spoiler heavy of course, and subscribe and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 150,000 subscribers here on the channel. It means quite a bit. And if you want extra content from the world of Stranger Things and beyond, including my reaction, my full reaction to every episode from Volume 2 where you guys can sync up and watch along with me from beginning to end, Patreon is the place to be. Any support over there truly does mean the world. And if you want some film stocked merch, you can get it at Firefly Shop on sale right now. It's only on sale through the end of this year, so be sure to get yours while you can if you're interested. But without further ado, it is time to break down Volume 2. Starting with Episode 5, Shock Jock, we pick up immediately where we left off at the end of Episode 4, Sorcerer, as Will is kneeling in the Mac Z facility surrounded by fire and dead soldiers. Part of Vecna's talk with Will is shown as we hear him discuss how kids are the perfect vessels to reshape the world because they're weak and easily broken / reshaped. Basically, this is giving us a mini recap of what happened in the final few minutes of Sorcerer in case we forgot over the month-long break. Joyce then goes over to Will as he snaps out of it, and Mike joins them, calling Will a real-life, honest-to-God sorcerer, and the two share a hug that further goes to show how close they are as best friends, and they have been over all these years. Will actually informs both Joyce and Mike that Vecna now has all 12 kids in the spires, which it goes without saying is pretty bad news. We then see Derek and all the other kids waking up in Camazotz as Henry greets them and gathers them inside the Creel house, all while Max looks on from a distance. Now, we have seen this clip already. It was the Spotify exclusive clip that released earlier before Volume 2 dropped. Of course, it's in context of the episode now, and we get to see the continuation of that as Mr. What's-It, or Henry, starts to relay some of his plan to the kids and begins to tease what's to come with Dimension X's role in this final season. He tells the kids, "I have traveled far and long beyond our dimension. In my travels, I discovered another world, a world far from Earth. This world is much like ours, only good, free of monsters and darkness. It is the light." Again, he's referring to what we know as Dimension X, but we can now also refer to it as the Abyss, thanks to our characters giving it a classic D&D label later on in the volume. Henry continues to tell the kids that they have dormant powers in their minds, and if they work together with him, they can awaken those powers, channel their energy, and draw this new world to ours. So he really is setting up the idea of Dimension X and the right side up merging into one world, which is his master plan. Holly even inquires about if Henry plans to leave again to find other kids, but Henry informs them that he isn't leaving again anytime soon, this of course throwing a wrench in her and Max's plan to escape from Camazotz. It's worth noting this fun little detail. There's 12 kids on these spires, 12 kids that are a part of Vecna's master plan, and of course there are 12 hours on a clock. What do we sort of associate with Vecna from Season 4? The grandfather clock. It just seems fitting. It's almost like he's filled out the clock in order to mess with time by merging worlds. A true madman. In this episode, it's directed by Frank Darabont, which is a huge win. He also directed The Turnbow Trap. Now at the military lab in the Upside Down, we see Dr. K has actually discovered that Kali is missing, but it's really cool because Kali has mentally projected herself to look like she's still strapped up, but then Dr. K is like, wait, she's not here, and then boom, we cut to Kali in the back seat of the car with Hopper and Elle as they're driving away from the lab. And as they're driving away, we get a fun callback as Hopper tells Kali what she did was pretty bitchin', of course joking that this is the word Kali added to Elle's vocab, a little Season 2 nod for us out there.
Bitchin'.
There's undeniably still some tension between Hopper and Elle, though, because this is like moments after Hopper almost offed himself with his fail-safe bomb vest. They have to have some words about that later on in this episode. Now, in the tunnels, we find an injured Lucas who took a gnarly gash from the demos to the chest. Like, in the moment, I thought this wound was going to be pretty serious. Turns out it's kind of just a flesh wound, but a bit of a serious one, I guess. Not really. He's fine. But this is actually where Lucas finds out that Will is the one who took out the Demogorgons, and he could not be prouder. I'm glad Will clarified in this moment that he does not have powers like 11, rather he is siphoning powers from Vecna, stealing them, if you will. And there's a clear emphasis made that he can only access these powers when he's close to the hive mind. Now, as they walk through the tunnels, Lucas actually shares his theory that on November 6th, which was of course was the day Will was taken, the day it all started, he believes this will be the day that it ends, which I think is such a fire line. The day it all started is the day it ends. Sounds like a catchphrase on a movie poster from the 70s or something. It just feels right that the show is going to end on the anniversary of when Will was taken to the Upside Down. It's a fitting full circle moment that takes the anniversary effect to a whole new level. Now, in the Upside Down, we do see Elle and Hopper have a small confrontation as Elle calls him out for the whole failsafe stunt. And good on her. I love Hopper, but he was outside of his mind there. Then we finally get the chilling shot of Steve, Jonathan, Nancy, and Dustin pulling up at Hawkins' lab. We were due for this. It was in like all the trailers, including the teaser, I want to say, so we finally get to see it after months of waiting. And something I've always adored about Stranger Things is the references to other 80s projects, and here we get a Star Wars reference. They go full Return of the Jedi on us. I was giddy. I think that's the most underappreciated of all the Star Wars films and the most underrated. Essentially, Dustin comes to the conclusion that the wall around the Upside Down is Vecna's version of an energy shield, much like around the second Death Star in Return of the Jedi. However, this wall is made of dark magic by Vecna, which is preventing the gang from breaking through the wall and rescuing Holly. Little do they know what they're actually about to get themselves into here, because they're not on the money with that theory. The groups do split off in Hawkins' lab as Jonathan and Nancy go one direction, Steve and Dustin go their separate ways so they can investigate and explore Hawkins' lab, and this is setting up some inevitable, uncomfortable confrontations and conversations between both groups of characters. Now, back in Camazotz, we do see Holly go ahead and dip out anyway from the Creel house, and she meets up with Max, but not before we get this little Easter egg to Alice in Wonderland, as there is a movie poster on the wall. As Holly meets up with Max, she tells her about Henry's plans and how he's enacting it tomorrow, so they have to act fast. But then out of nowhere, Derek Turnbow gets involved as he actually snuck out of the house as well. And I can't lie, I loved seeing both Holly and Max's reaction to Derek talking about what he's been doing with all of their friends in the Right Side Up. He's like, oh yeah, Mike's my best friend. There's just a lot of funny little lines from him, and I think Derek added a lot of much needed energy and comedic relief to a much darker season of the show. Dare I say, he became a delightful new addition to the show.
Suck my fat one! Jesus.
But the next scene's actually that clip that was released from The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon as we Joyce pitching everyone on this idea of Will tapping into the hive mind and taking out Vecna in one fell swoop. And this leads into a genius sibling moment where both Lucas and Erica devise their own individual plans that are brilliant in their own ways. Erica's idea involves seeking out the help of Mr. Clark, because he's Dustin's mentor, and they would seek his help so that he could build a telemetry tag to locate Dustin, while Lucas's plan is all about Frankensteining a Demogorgon in order to allow Will to tap in to the hive mind right at the radio station. Basically resurrecting a Demogorgon just long enough for Will to tap into the hive mind and go find Vecna that way. It's very sick. This whole exchange to me just felt very classic Stranger Things. It was moving, it had the popcorn dialogue. I was here for it. It felt like something out of season 4, 3, 2, any of them, you name it. Now back at Hawkins' lab, as Dustin and Steve are further exploring, they enter the infamous Rainbow Room. And it's kind of cool to see the remnants of the gate through which Elle sent Henry to Dimension X in season 4 post the massacre at Hawkins' lab. But the two characters continue to bicker away. At the same time, Jonathan and Nancy are fighting as well. Like, no one's happy in this plotline right now with these two pairs. That is until Jonathan discovers something. A staircase up towards the roof of Hawkins' lab, where the walls, the stairs, everything is melting. It's nuts. Now we head back over to Elle and Collie in the Upside Down, waiting around in the church, and Elle tells Collie she wants help finding Henry. Now 11 clearly believes that killing Henry will save them, but Collie claims it to just be a dream. Collie's defeated and negatively approaches a lot of situations in this season, and maybe she has a right to be that way because she's been held up as a prisoner and tortured essentially for who knows how long. So she has some trauma as well, but so does 11. Everyone carries their own trauma in this show, but those two especially have been through some serious shit. But Collie explains how they found me and they found my friends and killed them. And then we see a flashback where the character Axel actually gets shot in the head and drops dead. Now this was the character from Collie's gang in the Lost Sister episode, that of course being season 2, episode 7. And this was the character Axel, like I said, with the mohawk. To me, he might have been the most annoying of the bunch, so I wasn't sad to see him go. That episode's just bad, I'm sorry. It's borderline irredeemable, and the side characters, Collie's friend group, make it almost unwatchable. It's clearly sad for the character Collie because like right after her friends get killed in front of her, she gets taken, they shave her head and dehumanize her. It's like, that's awful. But I was totally fine with them killing off the friend group. That cements that we will never have to see them on screen again. Anyway, we get this information on how Collie was captured and locked up, constantly getting her blood taken because Dr. K wanted to use her blood to try and recreate what Brenner was doing with the kids at Hawkins' lab. She wanted to create enhanced beings just like Collie. And this begins begins to reference or allude to some of the first Shadow play lore that I'll tap into momentarily. Now, before getting more info on what Dr. K is up to with Kali and her blood, Robin and Will have a sweet conversation at the WSUK radio station where Robin tells Will about the first time she came out to someone. Of course, we know that was Steve back in season 3, one of the best scenes in the whole show still, but she says it felt like a weight was lifted, and this tees up Will to have a big scene later on in the season where he tells everyone his true feelings. I can't say this enough for me personally, the Robin Will duo has been a delight. I know people have their opinions, I've really liked them both quite a bit. But they're not the best new duo of the season because Max and Holly are carrying a lot of weight in season 5. They've crushed it in every single episode we've seen them together. We actually see them going through Holly's memories, trying to find a way out of Camazotz, and there's a really sick transition between the Wheeler basement and the public school library. The Duffers and their transitions, you gotta love it. Meanwhile, tensions boil over with Steve and Dustin as the two duke it out in the Rainbow Room. I genuinely thought Vecna had taken over Steve here for some reason because he just was acting out of character. Like the way that it was framed, I was like, this isn't Steve, is it? I thought Dustin was having mind tricks played on him or something. And the two of them basically hit rock bottom with their relationship as Dustin is just trying to crush him. He's taking out his emotions on him. And they're both saying hurtful things they don't really mean. Thankfully, they make up later on and they really are brothers at the end of the day. They've just had this non-stop argument and fighting going on for quite some time now. And seeing my second and third favorite characters in the show have this hurts like hell. It hurts my heart and soul. The fight does result in Dustin actually opening a door accidentally into Brenner's old office, and this contains the key answers he needs as to what is going on at Hawkins' lab. Kali then informs Elle of some revelatory news. Dr. K was trying to use Kali's blood to infuse it into pregnant women in hopes of recreating powered up humans. So she wasn't just taking the blood to try and create new kids randomly, she had pregnant women in different rooms and was infusing Kali's blood into them, but they were sick. It wasn't really working. This leads to the huge reveal that Henry Creel's blood is in Kali and Elle. This makes them more connected than ever. Both Elle to Kali, but also Elle to Henry. Dr. K apparently wants to restart Papa's program, but because Kali's blood's not working, Dr. K's after Elle. That's the whole reason she wants her. She wants her blood in order to basically restart the program with all the kids that Papa had going. Kali goes on to tell Jane there are no happy endings. And this kind of starts a long line of moments between Kali and Elle where like every time they have an interaction, Kali's like, there's no way we can get out of here alive. We both have to die. We have to sacrifice ourselves. And she's just like hitting this point home. She's almost beating a dead horse, so much so that it's making me second guess my death prediction of 11 because now they've kind of hinted at it so many times that if it happens, I'll be like, oh, damn, she died. I almost envision a situation where they do a fake death, and I'll get into that in a second. Now out in the woods by the Creel house, we see Mr. Whatsit absolutely terrorizing Derek Turnbow. He threatens to kill his family if he lies to him again. And this is all the proof we need that Mr. Whatsit is insane. I know there were some theories going around, like maybe Mr. Whatsit is the good version of Henry / Vecna. We can throw that out the freaking window. Mr. Whatsit is just a facade, and I don't think redemption's possible for this character in any way, shape, or form, but I will say I wouldn't be mad about a Jamie Campbell Emmy nom. Now, as the shock jock of it all begins, we see a Demogorgon strapped up on the roof as it gets shocked back to life, and an awesome detail is actually seeing the Demogorgon's skin become flayed, essentially comparable to Billy's skin in the sauna test, as the particles inside of the demo want out because it's frying. The demo being brought back allows Will to tap into the hive mind right there at the radio station and see through the eyes of the Demogorgon, but also enter the hive mind and see through the eyes of Derek Turnbow, letting the others know that Holly and Max are being hunted by Vecna. That's right. Because he was able to tap into Derek, he got some information that Max is out there and with Holly nonetheless, and Vecna's coming after the both of them. And speaking of Max and Holly, in Camazotz, they're on the brink of escape. They've found a way out through these memories, and Henry Creel arrives to put a stop to this. He's in Mr. Whatsit form, but then he's glitching between forms until he ultimately ends up as Vecna, and here he actually starts to choke out Max until she's damn near dead. There's a great line from him though. He says, "At long last, the fox is caught." That's one hell of a line. But their plan worked, as Will is actually able to tap into the hive mind and access Vecna, take full control of Vecna for a brief period of time. This allows him to free Max and warn both Holly and Max to run. That's right, we finally have the long-awaited run moment from the date announcement that dropped on May 31st at Tadoom. And they pulled some trailer trickery on us too, because in the Tadoom date announcement, Will's yelling run and his eyes look normal, he's just looking up. Well, in the actual final cut show, he's got wide eyes because he's tapped into the hive mind and he's yelling run through Vecna to Max and Holly. It really doesn't get cooler than that. I think that a lot of us might take for granted how awesome something like this is. That's badass, guys. That is awesome. And so we can finally put to bed the rumors of Noah Schnapp yelling, "Steve, you need to run," when he was on set, because there was a paparazzi video or a fan that drove by set and they recorded this audio back in like April 2024. It's been a long damn time, and people were like, he's telling Steve to run. Well, no, it was actually Max, you need to run. But Will's able to wound Henry. Like, his leg takes a hit, so he's got a little bit of a limp going, but he's able to kick Will out of his mind as well, and this knocks him out of commission in the right side up, as he's rendered unconscious. As a result, Robin cranks the voltage, and the shadow particles from within the Demogorgon actually leave, and they wrap up and spiral around the radio tower. All this was intense as hell. I was really enthralled watching this sequence go down, and it goes to show that connection between Will and Vecna probably going to play a major role in taking Vecna down in the finale. The episode actually comes to a close on the roof of Hawkins' lab as Jonathan and Nancy discover what they believe to be a shield generator, but Dustin has done some reading up from Brenner's office when he found these documents, and he alarms them not to touch anything, but his signal's not getting through as a result of a broken antenna on his walkie. Dustin literally says, "We will die, Holly will die if you destroy it," and as the episode ends, Nancy fires her shotgun into the sky, and we cut to black. Maybe I'm reading too deep into this, but I view this potentially as Nancy Wheeler's death sentence. She caused the explosion by shooting it. Will she have to bear the responsibility and deal with the ramifications of that choice she made? I can see the vision if they kill her, especially because of what happens with Jancy later on this season.
You sure about this?
But rolling into episode 6, Escape from Camazotz, we got Sean Levy back to direct. Great news. The man doesn't miss, in my opinion, when it comes to directing Stranger Things episodes. And this episode in particular had a ton of hype going into it, but did it fully deliver? What do you think? Let me know. The ep opens with an explosion in the sky overhead of Hawkins' lab, which spreads all the way to the wall. This is something that's been teased in trailers and we've been theorizing about endlessly, and I'll explain what it is in a second. But first, we get the return of the GOAT, Mr. Clark, baby! He's recruited by Erica and Murray to help create a telemetry tag, and I was up when this man returned. When you guys see my reaction, I was jazzed. But Dustin then explains to Steve how he found Brenner's journal and that the key to destroying the wall is in the lab, but it's not made by Vecna or dark magic. Science made it.
Yes, science!
It's exotic matter. Vecna is not on the other side of the wall as he didn't make it. Nobody is on the other side of the wall because the wall itself is a wormhole, a bridge between 2 points in time and space or dimensions. And this is a game-changing revelation to start episode 6. We now know that the Upside Down is a bridge that connects the right side up to Dimension X, or the Abyss, if you will. How do you feel about this reveal? Because this is something we've been dying to know since the beginning, and now we got the answers, and we get even more of them in episode 7, so stay tuned for later in this video for my 2 cents on all that. But now we know the Upside Down is a bridge, and we pan out to see this really cool shot of it from afar, and Steve's car flying off into nothing. We do get a cool escape sequence as well, where Eleven helps Holly and Hopper get to a gate, helping them get out of the Upside Down. But in Camazotz, as Holly and Max are fleeing from Henry back to the caves, Henry actually threatens to kill Max. He's like, there are other ways to reach you. This is of course referring to her body in the right side up, how he can basically sick demo dogs on her and kill her there. The date November 6th then flashes on screen, letting us know that we have reached the 4-year anniversary of Will Byers' disappearance at the Upside Down at the very beginning of season 1. Robin then has a goated moment, by the way. I'm done with the Robin disrespect I've seen on social media. I love Robin, and I will not tolerate that crap. She's actually able to connect the dots regarding the fact that Holly, Max, and Will are all unconscious and just so happen to be in Vecna's trance. Their minds are in the same place, that being Vecna's mind prison. That is until Max and Holly plan to make a prison break. We then see that Will is tied up in vines in Hawkins' library. This, of course, paralleling where he was tied up at the beginning of season 5 in the flashback to November 12th, 1983. Vecna then tells Will, "You think you are clever, don't you? But remember, I am the one who invited you in. You were my vessel, my spy, my builder." Here it's actually revealed that Will Byers dug the tunnels from season 2. Each and every night when he slept, he would build the tunnels by tapping into the hive mind. He wasn't conscious of what he was doing because of course he wasn't in control, but he built the tunnels. That's how they got there. That reframes season 2 as a whole. When we go back to watch it now, we'll be able to have that added information and context from season 5, and to me that just makes season 2 better than it already is. Vecna goes on to say, "There's much power within you, but make no mistake, boy, they are my powers, and they are stronger than ever before." I like how Vecna comes in here and asserts his dominance. He's just like, it's cute what you've done, Will, but I'm in control here. And, you know, this is a little fun game been playing, but I'm done with that crap. I'm in control. This is my power. You ain't using it no more. I was like, damn, he's coming in hot. Vecna goes on to say, it's time for my vessels to lead us to a new world, a better world. He then tells Will, you're gonna help me one last time. And as Vecna puts his hand over Will's head, Will's eyes start to bleed as though he is about to get Vecna'd. And honestly, in this moment, I thought Will was about to lose either both eyes or an eye. That would have been bonkers. But back with Holly and Max, we see them heading out into the desert, trying to find another way out of Camazotz. We get a quick double couple reunion at WSQK as both Jopper and Malevolent have reunions. Kali, of course, there as well. And Elle enters the void in WSQK, but she's not able to reach Will, so she needs to improve her signal. Where's she gonna do that? At the tub at Hopper's cabin. All the while, Kali and Hop have some tension, and I wonder if this is gonna lead anywhere, because Kali is undeniably being a bit of a Debbie Downer in a sense this season. So I don't know if her negativity is ever gonna go anywhere. Like, I don't know if her plan of basically we need to just off ourselves is gonna happen or not. In Camazotz, Holly has a moment of brilliance as she realizes that the cap on the spyglass matches the pattern with the exterior of the cave where they're saying, and she says M marks the spot, so they have to head back for answers. Now at Hopper's cabin, the tub is getting set up for Elle to enter the void and find Will, and Mike and Elle have a conversation that to me is unfortunately filled with this sense of impending doom, and that's kind of been the aura around a lot of their conversations this season, especially the rooftop scene at WSQK in episode 1, and now this scene as well. Elle's talking about how with her blood they can make more monsters and make more Henrys. The military will always be looking for her. Mike says after it's over they can escape Hawkins to a place with one waterfall, and then Elle responds by saying this isn't like one of your campaigns, you don't get to write the ending this time. Mike responds by saying this is our story, and I did get chills in this moment because he was like, we're in control of our fate. I think there is some power to that, and I'm hoping maybe there's a world where Elle lives, because I don't want her to go. This show is really setting it up to be that way, and it's been that way all throughout season 5. I don't want her to go, but all signs are kind of pointing towards that. Now we do see Kali listening in on this conversation, which has me thinking of a downright devastating ending for 11, so get ready. Later on in this volume, the idea of Kali and Elle staying back and going down with the ship is mentioned. Well, what if Elle dies with Kali? They both go out, but Kali's able to mentally project that vision of Elle and Mike at a waterfall in her final moments, giving her sister Elle one happy memory to die with. That would crush my soul. Even crazier, they could go the Dark Knight Rises route.
You merely adopted the dark.
And Kali could fake project Elle dying to Kay and all of the military, maybe even all the other characters in general, so everyone thinks she dies, but she's really gone and she's living her days out in isolation away from everyone, but she didn't have to actually die. However, Hopper and Mike, those two characters, could maybe still go visit her, maybe Will as well, but a select few characters would know she's still out there somewhere. Then we get a long overdue emotional scene between the brothers that are Steve and Dustin. Steve's like carelessly about to climb an unstable ladder over this gap in the stairs, and Dustin breaks down. He freaks out. He's like, I don't want to lose you. I can't do this again. And it strengthens their bond as brothers. This is just the warm-up scene for the ultimate mending of their relationship that's going to occur in episode 7, which I'll get to in a second. At the same time, Jancy have a bit of a heart-to-heart where they break down their relationship and ultimately split off. That's kind of what it seems like, and the Duffers made comments about how the two are broken up. It's a complicated scene, just like their relationship, but basically the gist of it is they realize that they had this trauma bond, and they go on to discuss how they have a lot of different interests. Right now is just not the right time. They have loved each other. They still love each other, but it's just like right person, maybe wrong time or wrong lifetime. I don't really know what's to come of it. Maybe they just need to take a break and both need to find themselves and their identity right now. And maybe, you know, in the epilogue, some time has passed and they've matured and both grown and they can get back together. But also maybe they're just not the right people for each other, and that's okay. And they were just a high school relationship that didn't work out. It fizzled out over time. Whatever happens, happens, but it does seem like as it stands right now, they are not officially a couple anymore. Does this scene open the door for one of those two to bite the dust in the finale? I personally think it does. I think one of them is now on the chopping block. Now, as Holly and Max are walking back towards the cave, they actually discover a ladder down to a tunnel/cave system, and they find a memory where young Henry Creel is, and he kills someone with a rock. This guy that he finds shoots Henry in the hand, and then Henry proceeds to beat him to death with a rock. Now, this is where we're gonna get into some of the first Shadow lore. Now, I want to preface, I've read spoiler synopsis. Unfortunately, I have not had the opportunity to see the play in person, so if you are one of the people, the lucky people in this world who has seen the play in person, please please hop down below in the comments and give me your 2 cents on this moment specifically. I would love to have a discussion about it. But with that being said, here's my take as someone who's only read spoiler synopsis. According to what I've read, the first shadow lore is that Henry finds a scientist from Brenner's lab down in the caves who's actually stolen some lab equipment. Then both Henry and the worker accidentally transport to Dimension X via this lab equipment, and in the play, apparently a Demogorgon gets this guy, but here in the actual TV show, Henry beats this man to death with a rock, assuming this is the guy who stole the lab equipment, by the way. So does this show Henry's an unreliable narrator in the play, and he's not giving the full information, and this is more of an objective viewing of this memory? Or perhaps this could be an instance of the timeline or events not lining up from the TV show to the play, because there are some discrepancies with actual dates and what's canon versus what isn't in the play to the TV show. Again, I've yet to see the play, I've only read up on it, so if you have seen the play, you feel like you have all the answers about this moment, hit me in the comments. Henry does open a briefcase after this, so we don't see what happens next, but this is likely that lab equipment that then transports him to Dimension X, where he has an encounter with the Mind Flayer in the caves where Max and Holly have been camped out. That's why he doesn't enter them, because that's his most traumatic memory. That is what forever changed his life and maybe even alters his blood so that he has powers. But after this memory, the way out of Camazotz is found by Holly and Max. It's in the back of this tunnel system. Elsewhere, Elle enters the void to find Will, and she's actually able to locate him and save him, but right when she saves him, it's moments after Will has already spied for Vecna and located Max for Vecna, so someone's coming to get Max. We cut over to the hospital and we see the demos breaking in. Lucas is sprinting with Max. Robin and Vicky are there as well as they make their way down to the basement to avoid these demo dogs. It seems like all hope is lost until a patient steps up to save the day. A mother, a Wheeler mother, that's right. Karen freaking Wheeler shows up as she tossed some high pressure tank into a dryer and it explodes, killing some demos. She's not messing around. She went wine bottle versus a Demogorgon. She's now taking him out with a dryer. I mean, that is just the epitome of a mom right there. She'll use any household object to get the job done. The Wheeler family just built different, especially the woman of the Wheeler family. Let's give props to Nancy, Karen, and Holly. But as Holly and Max are close to escaping Camazotz, Max gives words of inspiration to Holly. She's got this very sweet relationship with her. She's uplifting her spirits because Max knows this is my opportunity. I gotta seize it. And she wants to stay there and be with Holly and make sure Holly gets out, but she has to get back to Lucas and the right side up, because not only to see them again and be back to her body, but also to literally save the day, because she has all this information that she has to get to them. So Max and Holly both run up that hill, if you will, and we get this beautiful piano score version of running up that hill that we actually hear at the very end of Dear Billy. But the episode cuts to black. We hear the hospital monitor beep, and we don't get to see the Lumax reunion in this episode, and I was pissed, I won't lie. I thought they did such a good job of building up to this emotional moment, and then boom, it cut to black. I was like, damn you. I could have used 5 more minutes. You could have given us that reunion, and then you could have rolled the credits. That's like a minor gripe, because I still cried, and I'll talk about it in a second, but I was like, man, I wish they didn't cut that short. And now we've reached the final episode of Volume 2, The Bridge. This is the second to last episode of the show as we know it, which is crazy to say out loud. But of course, we got the Lumax reunion to start the episode, and I cried straight up. Got the reunion! They started playing When It's Cold I'd Like to Die, which feels earned, in my opinion, I'll say it. It's a song that's already been used twice. It's first heard in Season 1 when Hopper and Joyce rescue Will from the Upside Down in the Season 1 finale, and then it's heard again when Eddie dies, but also it plays while Max is dying in Lucas's arms. So that's why it feels rewarding here, because it's a callback to that moment. It's paralleling that moment. The first time it was sad, this time it's happy. A lot of the dialogue spoken is kind of calling back to the line spoken between Max and Lucas when, she's dying, but it's a sweet version of it, and so it feels redeemed in a sense. But the long-awaited reunion fully delivered for me on all the emotions. At Hawkins' lab, Steve and Dustin finally reunite with Jonathan and Nancy as they are saved from this room that's overflowing with melting parts of the lab. And this is where they're filled in on the lore of Dimension X, the Upside Down, and how this bridge is connecting the right side up to Dimension X. Holly then wakes up in Dimension X. She did get out of Camazotz, but I don't know if her situation really improved. And it looks exactly like it did when Henry arrived here in the Season 4 flashbacks. Now, she's able to evade him through a gate in the ground, and she starts to plummet through the sky towards Hawkins' lab. So that trailer shot of someone falling was in fact Holly falling in the sky. And I have to mention real quick, this episode is directed by the Duffers and Sean Levy for the first time ever in the show. Now, on the right side up, Mr. Clark, or dare I say Snookums, along with Murray and Erica, have rigged a setup to be able to pinpoint Dustin's exact location in the Upside Down. Cool stuff. I'm glad Mr. Clark's getting so much time to shine. He's been an underappreciated character for years, and he's one of the best side characters in the show, so it's awesome that he's having this moment to be a part of the gang. Will is now awake. He's at Hopper's cabin with Joyce, and he has a moment where he's talking to her about how he feels guilty for what happened with the tunnels and all the deaths as a result of him being used as a spy. He kind of blames himself. In reality, he didn't really have control over that at all. There's nothing he could have done, but he feels guilty still and carries that burden. Over at Hawkins Memorial Hospital, Max, of course, is awake now, and she's giving out all the info to the gang. She tells them about how she told Holly to go home in the Upside Down, so the gang need to go find her in the Upside Down. Of course, Karen, the mother, wants to get involved, but she has to stay back for health reasons. It is cool how she's been informed of everything now, though. For 5 seasons, she's kind of just been oblivious. Well, she got attacked by a Demogorgon. That was pretty much sign number 1. Something's going on, and now she knows all about the Upside Down and the craziness. Took 5 seasons, though. Because of Mr. Clark's science brain, they were able to pinpoint Dustin, and the gang locate him and get in contact with him via radio at Hawkins' lab, and this is where he relays to them they've actually found Holly. So they end up lifting one of the metal plates that covered up the rifts from the end of season 4, and they use that as a gate to get into the Upside Down and reunite with everyone. It was hilarious that this was Mr. Clark's first time seeing Elle use her powers. Everyone is in the Upside Down now, outside of Lumax, who did hang back, but even Mr. Clark, who helped out indirectly all the way back in season 1 with the whole Flea and the Acrobat explanation, is able to join the crew, and it's long overdue. I salute him. He is a hero. It's also technically Mike's first time in the Upside Down if you don't count the tunnels. Now, we do find out that Holly was close to landing at Hawkins' lab, but something grabbed her in the air and pulled her back up to Dimension X. It was invisible though, and Nancy says it had to be Vecna. Unfortunately, this does result in Holly getting reconnected to the Spires, and Vecna saying one of the few lines he actually knows how to: "It will all be over soon." A character who I thought was dead and long gone is somehow still alive. Colonel Sullivan. They can't even kill Colonel freaking Sullivan. He was burning up in the massacre at the Max Z, and he's alive, and he's relaying some information to Dr. K, talking about Vecna and what he saw him do. We then get to see a bit of an unhinged side to Dr. K as she slams Lieutenant Akers and gets up in his face, and she's very clearly obsessed with finding 11. There has to be some relation to Brenner here, whether that's familial or a friend. Now, back at the WSQK radio station, Will Byers reunites with Max, and the whole gang is present. You know what that means? It's time for a classic planning session, a plot, if you will. Dustin explains to everyone that the Upside Down is an interdimensional bridge, aka a wormhole, that connects Hawkins to another world coined the Abyss, which is, of course, a D&D reference, but we know this is Dimension X, and I kind of still want to refer to it as such. Dustin says, "I believe this Abyss is the true home of the Demos, the Vines, the Mind Flayer, everything from the Upside Down." He goes on to say that Henry would have stayed lost for years in the Abyss if it wasn't for Brenner, who was searching for him, and then Elle, of course, made remote contact with the Demogorgon, which was in the Abyss in season 1, and that's what created the bridge, aka the Upside Down. So in season 1, when Elle came in contact with the Demogorgon in the Void, she was, of course, physically in the right side up, and that Demogorgon was in the Abyss or Dimension X, and that contact created a bridge between the dimensions that we know as the Upside Down. As they continue to yap, basically they say that Vecna targets kids in order to amplify his abilities through them, because the kids will help Henry draw the worlds together, as they are both weak and defenseless. So when Vecna retreated at the end of season 4, he wasn't just licking his wounds. He was making rifts in the Abyss to weaken it in order to allow for the merging of Hawkins and the Abyss. He already did damage to Hawkins at the end of season 4. He was doing something similar to the Abyss in order for the worlds to be more capable of merging. And when the Abyss and Hawkins collide, they become one. And this whole scene set up a lot of ideas they're gonna have to be brought to a close in the finale. Hopper suggests going up in a helicopter, which honestly is not the brightest, but who do we know that can pilot one of those? Yuri himself. It'd be an incredible callback, but it's not logistically possible at this point in the show, especially on the time crunch they're on. Steve, the Hair Harrington himself, finally has a big brain moment. The growth is real, and Dustin just looks so proud when Steve speaks up here. It also reminded me so much of Riley Poole in National Treasure, the first one, when he has this moment where he one-ups Ben Gates in relation to the time change on the $100 bill. It was a cool scene. Anyway, Steve devises a plan that would involve the gang going up the WSQK radio tower and letting the Abyss get close enough to the right side up that the top of the radio tower pokes through a rift, allowing them to enter and rescue the kids. On top of that, Elle can use the bath at Hawkins' lab, as it's close to Henry's lair in the Abyss, in order to enter Vecna's mind via the Void. Kali speaks up and says she wants to be there too, and the look Hopper gives is concerning. Is he onto her? Is he right to question her? Kali is certainly hell-bent on both herself and Elle dying, so I hope that does not happen, but It seems like it might. Dustin then ends the plan saying they're gonna drop a bomb near the exotic matter, setting a timer and escaping the Upside Down, causing the bridge to collapse and be gone once and for all. So with that statement, they have said, we are going to end this thing. At the end of the finale, we are gonna blow up basically the Upside Down, and there's no longer gonna be a bridge connecting the two dimensions, meaning no more gates, no more Vecna. Back in Camazotz, Holly's actually held down by the other kids and loses her Holly the Heroic necklace. None of these kids believe her. Even Derek's too scared to side with her with a fear of what would happen to his family. Back in the right side up, as everyone gears up for this final mission, Harbour tells Joyce he can't lose Elle. Honestly, I fear that he's still gonna end up doing just that. It scares the hell out of me. To be honest, it scares the hell out of me. So I had this thought, and it wouldn't really be much better, but bear with me. Could Joyce maybe sacrifice herself for 11? This would allow Harbour to still have a daughter, as we know he already lost Sarah. And Joyce herself's kind of had to learn how to give Will his own space this season, whereas Harbour's become mega protective of Elle. Maybe she could go. It'd be unexpected and shocking, and we haven't seen any more shots of Joyce in any of the trailers, so what if she dies to save Elle, allowing Harbour to always have a daughter in his life? I don't know if they want to go that route. Will then talks with Max about going into the Abyss and how despite all the risks, he might still have to go. And while the gang gear up for the final battle, Mike's working on this bomb contraption, and that leads to Steve and Dustin having some alone time to have a moment together where they can reconcile. They both apologize for some of the things they've said, and Steve says he missed his best friend. Dustin says the same thing, and then we get the great callback to season 3 with if you die, I die. At this point, I think they're both beyond safe. Like, I don't know why they would kill Steve or Dustin. It's so clear they both need each other badly to grow and continue to have that bond beyond the 5-season run of Stranger Things. Like, whatever happens in the finale, they need to live past that. I do love how they're using the spears that Eddie and Dustin use in the season 4 finale to fight off the demo batch, though. It's sick. Kali and Elle have this scene where they share their minds and they sort of hop into the void together, and I still can't get a read on Kali. She is so hell-bent on dying. Like, she says both her and Elle vanishing with the Upside Down is the only way. They're making it seem like both these characters are 100% goners at this point. I just don't know if it's gonna end up being that predictable or not. Maybe they'll hit us with some sort of misdirect, we'll see. But right before they're about to take off for the final mission, Will gathers everyone around to tell them all who he really is deep down as he comes out to them. Robin gave him the courage to do this, and everyone embraces him, accepts him, and still loves him for who he is. It's a very well-written, well-acted scene that pulled on the heartstrings. All these characters still love him deep down. They don't view him any differently. Will then has a great line where he tells Elle, I know you're strong enough to defeat Vecna, but he can retreat to the physical world, and we need to be ready to fight him there too. I need to be there. I am ready to show him I'm not afraid anymore. So is Will gonna come in handy to take down Vecna? Perhaps Elle damages him in Dimension X or the Void. He's weakened by Elle, and then Will finishes the job in the right side up. But as we near the end of the episode, the gang pull up at the Mac Z as Murray is driving this truck with all the characters in the back, and they're getting shot at heavily by the military presence. I would not be shocked at all if Murray got tagged by one of these bullets in the gut and he bleeds out and dies in the finale. And they all make it through the gate. Mike asks Elle if she's ready, to which she responds she is, and the truck drives off into the Upside Down for the final mission of the show. Now, there is a look of acknowledgement between Kali and Elle in the back of this truck, kind of this like nod, them knowing what they have to do once and for all to end this thing, and maybe even an acknowledgement of, hey, that was our last moment in the right side up. We're never going back there again. But the episode actually ends in Camazotz as we are with Henry and all the kids sat around a table, and they're all locking in, looking up as if they're all one, all using powers or channeling the energy of the hive mind. And then the credits roll, and that does it for Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2. Only one episode left. Now, mind you, that episode is 2 hours and 8 minutes, which is full on movie length and the second longest episode of Stranger Things to date. It's releasing in theaters as well as on Netflix, so it is going to be a movie level event, and they've certainly saved a lot of the epic moments that we've seen in some of the big episodes of Season 4, for example, for this finale. I think they're gonna really save it all for that, and it's gonna be madness. I also know that this show has never been built on huge action set pieces. There are thrilling moments, but Volume 2 is a lot more about the character moments, the emotional moments between characters, the reunions, and sort of getting into the lore of the Upside Down and Dimension X, the connection between it all. So while it wasn't action-packed necessarily, necessarily, that didn't bother me in the slightest. I was really engaged with all these character moments. It's also one of those instances where we've been building up what's going to happen in this season for 3.5 years, talking about it, thinking about it daily. And so it's expectation versus reality. No matter what we had thought of in our head, whether it was the worst thing ever, the best scene ever, it wasn't going to be what they did because we are not the Duffers. None of us are. They're going to make the show the way they want to, and hopefully it satisfies us. And it's not going to satisfy everybody, but it isn't necessarily always what we had envisioned, and that's okay. That doesn't make the show worse. It's just a moment of, oh, I had this expectation that I lived with for 3 years, and that's not necessarily what it was, but what they actually did was really cool, and I'm glad that we got to see these characters interact, and I'm glad that we got to see, you know, new duos, etc., etc. Now we get the epic finale, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us. Now, before we get out of here, I'm going to share my 2 biggest nitpicks. One, the lack of needle drops. I think there were maybe 2 needle drops out of all 3 episodes, and I'd say this by far probably has the weakest soundtrack out of all 5 seasons, just because there aren't that many needle drops. It's more score-based, which is fine. Even then, the music in general probably has been my least favorite, whether that is the songs included from the 80s or the original music composed. Thus far, there just haven't been as many memorable musical moments as compared to seasons 1 through 4. But again, I have high hopes for the finale because they have said there's a song that's like never been used in TV before, so that'll be hype, hopefully. I wonder what it is. And my other nitpick would be the episode runtimes. Initially, I said, oh, we just got to see how they handle the pacing, but having seen that, I do wish some of these episodes were longer, and I am going to acknowledge we were spoiled with season 4. The shortest episode was 1 hour and 3. A lot of those were 1 hour and 18, but I mean, this season, watching it has really made me appreciate season 4 even more, and I already love season 4, but it was special what they were able to do. I mean, we were really getting fed, and I don't even think we realized, and season 5 is a bit on the shorter side by comparison. Of course, we're still getting hour-long eps, but the penultimate episode of the show was the credits rolled at 1 hour. I was like, man, I kind of have this theory that they intentionally cut episodes a bit weirdly where they ended in order to stack the runtime of the finale because they knew they were going to release it theatrically and they wanted it to be over 2 hours. Because in my opinion, they could have taken the first 5 minutes of episode 7, The Bridge, and had that be the end of episode 6, Escape from Camazotz, and they could have made the bridge longer, taking some of the opening action from what I assume we'll get in the next episode and put that at the end of episode 7. So it's weird how they've decided to portion out the different scenes to make the episode runtimes. I definitely think they are intentionally stacking the finale runtime. If you combine the epilogue with like an 1.5 hour long episode, that checks out to be over 2 hours. But with that, we're less than 1 week away from the series finale of Stranger Things, so I'll be covering it pretty much daily leading up to that. You won't want to miss it. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't. Of course, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, comment your in-depth spoiler-filled thoughts, theories, predictions, and expectations for the finale as well. And if you want my full reaction to Volume 2, Patreon is the place to be. You guys can pull up the episode, sync up, and watch along with me from beginning to end. But that's going to do it for my big old breakdown of Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2. Of course, I will do this with the finale as well. I will have Stranger Things videos galore with final rankings, theories, all that jazz when the season comes to an end. But I can't thank you guys enough for your support this year. It has meant the world. Lots more to come here on the channel you won't want to miss. But until next time, I'll see you on the other side of the Upside Down.